Welcome to this episode of the Sports Detective Podcast Show. My name is James Williams, and today we discuss Coach Prime's incredibly unique approach to recruiting. Why are we talking about this? Well, there's a story that broke in the middle of March, and basically, kind of like the key takeaway, the key headline of this story about Colorado's recruiting and how Deion Sanders is recruiting at Colorado. The key headline was that Deion Sanders, since he became the head coach at the University of Colorado, has went on zero at-home recruiting visits. This is incredibly odd because some people out there might be already saying, like, well, wait a second, how often do Division One, Power Five head coaches go on these, recruiting visits and make at-home recruiting visits? In comparison, Jim Harbaugh in that same time frame at the University of Michigan went on 145 recruiting visits, at-home recruiting visits. Steve Sarkisian, same time frame at Texas, went on 128 at-home recruiting visits, compared to Deion's zero. And I covered Colorado's recruiting class a few months ago because I was very shocked when I saw their high school recruiting rankings, and they only had 7 commits out of high school. And they had a 5-star offensive tackle. They had a few 4-stars. There was some talent in there, highly ranked recruits. But I just was very shocked that it was only 7 players. And kind of like my point in that video was like, well, the whole point of when Stephen A. Smith or somebody goes on First Take and says, I want Deion Sanders to be the next head coach at Alabama, the point of that is like, well, Deion Sanders should be he's the ultimate showman. He's one of the most captivating personalities that we have in sports, let alone college football. That's why Colorado, those TV ratings early in the season were absolutely gangbusters, because Deion Sanders is that captivating of a personality. He's that much of a salesman. And if he wanted to, even at Colorado, which was when he took it over, a nothing football program, could probably have a top 10 high school recruiting class if he really hit the recruiting trail as hard as somebody like Steve Sarkisian or Jim Harbaugh or Nick Saban did, or Brian Kelly did, or Lane Kiffin does. And basically, Deion's approach here is like, hey, I'll get the high school guys that want to come here, but our main approach to recruiting is in the transfer portal. And a few days ago, Deion Sanders did fire back at people in the media that were criticizing his style of recruiting and how he is building his program. So I'll go ahead, play Deion Sanders' response, and then we will talk about his response, and then we'll talk about the future, the 2024 season of Colorado football. So we'll go ahead, play this 3-minute video here from Deion. I did speed it up to 1.25 speed, so maybe it'll be like 2.5 minutes probably. But we'll play this video, and then we will discuss afterwards.
Who did it? I don't know if they're in here. If they are, you can just raise your hand like you did when we were in nursery. They said here. There's an article that came out that said, I don't go on visits. Okay. My approach is totally different than many coaches' approach. Sometimes I'm a businessman as well, so I try to save our university money every darn chance I get. So for me to go to, let's just say I'm going to Florida and I'm visiting whatever school, IMG. You don't think those coaches are going to be a little upset if I don't come by the school down the street? You don't think it's going to be pandemonium if I'm going to get naysayed if I don't go another 45 minutes? Then if I go to that one, then I go, why did they come to that school? Now the coach is mad, so he's not going to let the kid come because he's mad because I chose to go to that school over that school. See, other coaches, they can do that, but I can't. And I've really pretty much done a personal survey. I really, truly, in all my heart, believe that parents don't want me at their house. They want to come see my house. They want to see how I live, how I get down. They want to see what I got going on, what God has done in my life. I know when I was in college, I did not want Bobby Bowden in my house because I knew after 7 o'clock, it was going to be rats and roaches on parade doing their thing. So that was just straight up, honestly. I did it. So that never transpired. That never happened for me. And we target mostly guys that's in the portal. When do you make visits to portal guys' homes? Anybody do that? Do they do that? I don't do it. Anybody? Have you guys heard of that? I don't. I think when a guy is in his 20s and he has 1 or 2 more shots, he don't give a damn about the picture. He don't give a damn about the parade that you want to take him on. He wants to know, okay, how are you going to use me? How can you help me get to the league? And what am I going to do? That's it. That's where we live in now. And I have never heard one guy say, I chose this college, but this coach came by my grade. Have you? It's different now. The parents, I love them, and I want to show them boldly. I want them to see this and how beautiful it is and why I'm so eager and how much I love this city and this state and this team. I want them to see that because guess what? That's what the kids come. Kid coming here. Go in there and showcase to me. This is going right. It's going bad. Don't make sense. I can do the thing other coaches can do. You know what? I'm going to try. And I just started when I said.
All right, so that is Deion Sanders' response there. I wanted to just add a few points or respond to a few of his points there. Well, first off, he said there at the beginning, he's like, I'm a businessman, so I'm looking forward to saving, Colorado money. I just don't buy that argument. It's kind of weird that he's talks about that at the beginning where he's like, well, we hit the transfer portal really hard, but he's making the reasoning of why they're not doing these visits is because they don't want to spend money. University of Colorado Athletic Department allocates $200,000 a year for Deion and the staff to go on visits. So I'm guessing they're not using that much of that budget at all. So there is money allocated with Colorado football to do something like that. On top of that, too, since Colorado joined the Big 12, they are getting they're making the most money on their TV contract that they have in the school's history. So they're making more money from that because of Deion Sanders being the head coach and the fact that it was such an event, at least those first few weeks last year for Colorado to, for their football games at home. Their ticket prices, if you were looking at them at the time, were insane. Even there was like $400, $500 for like the worst seats in the house. They were making so much money from, just stadium revenue last year. Colorado's athletic department is richer than it probably ever has in the school's history. So the idea of like, oh, we're doing to save money just doesn't make sense. Okay. So the other thing that he said there, it's like, well, I never heard anyone ever say that they committed to a school because a coach came and visited my house. All right. Yeah, you're right. We probably haven't heard anything like that specific. But if you actually follow a lot of this recruiting stuff and you listen to the people that cover college recruiting, or if you even listen to sometimes when players say and talk about why they ended up choosing a school, a lot of times it's the things like, oh, well, this is the first team that ever started talking to me. They're the team that they don't necessarily say it's because of a home visit, but they say, hey, this is the staff that spent the most time trying to recruit me. And a lot of times that big amount of time spent trying to recruit someone actually benefits the team, and they actually end up getting that recruit. So spending time trying to recruit people a lot. Now, does it pay off every single time? No. But a lot of times, more often than not, it probably does. So I don't know if I like that answer from Deion either. To the part about building through the portal and, or even, okay, let me back up a sec. He said it's like, well, I want people to come to me and I want them to come to Colorado and I want them to come and see what we got here. Well, it's like, well, if you want them to do that, a good way to do that is you go visit them first and tell them to come and visit you, and then you sell everything. Again, if Deion Sanders wanted it, he could have a top 10 recruiting class at Colorado. Okay. Now I want to talk about this because if there's any of the Deion stands that are still watching right now, and I had this the last time I did a video about Colorado, where a lot of people were talking about transfer portal. All right, I get it. They have the 6th transfer portal a class right now. And if you look at the other team, the only difference between Colorado and the other teams that are really hit the transfer portal hard is that these other teams also hit high school recruiting hard too. Like a school like Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin hits high school recruiting super, super hard. He also hits the transfer portal really hard too. But he hits high school recruiting also very hard. So, and that's just, if he's able to succeed, if Deion's able to succeed, mostly building out of the transfer portal, he's doing something that no one else in college football is doing. Every other college football team that is also hitting the transfer portal hard is also hitting the high school recruiting hard. So, and to that point too, where it's like, well, Deion Sanders wants these proven guys that are, guys that have been playing at Division I football for a while now, and he doesn't want to deal with any of these high school kids because a lot of times these high school kids aren't ready to play right away. Okay, to that point, guys, do you understand why guys enter the transfer portal? Do you guys understand the logic of what someone does to enter the transfer portal? Now, are there some people that are like, hey, I entered the transfer portal because I want to go somewhere and get NIL money? Sure. Yeah, there is that a lot of times. But if it's somebody at like a bigger school and they left to get NIL money, if they were good enough and if that school really wanted them, they would have ponied up the NIL money for them. Most of the reason that a lot of these guys that are coming to Colorado, the reason that they're coming to Colorado is because they want to play. And they're coming to Colorado to play and they want playing time. And it's because they didn't have much playing time at their previous school. Now, I understand there are some studs. I was looking up some of the guys that are in this transfer portal class, but a lot of them, most of them, are guys that kind of just played sparingly at other schools. These aren't like guys that were all SEC, linebackers or all Big 12 receivers or, all Big 10 offensive linemen. Like, these are guys, there's a lot of question marks in these transfer portal classes. And if you're going to go very heavily in the transfer portal, yeah, there's going to be some guys that are probably pretty good out of the transfer portal class. There's also be a lot of guys that don't play, and then probably there's a reason that they weren't playing at their previous school. So the idea that like, oh, going to have all of these guys that come in and play right away, it's kind of like a coin flip of a proposition here. To that point too, part of the reason Colorado faded down the stretch last year is because they didn't have depth. Like, they had some guys that were very talented that got beat up, and then they didn't have much depth at some of the defensive positions and some of the offensive line positions. And that's why Colorado really struggled. And I don't know if you can build depth. I think you can get talent out of the transfer portal. I think you can get good players out of the transfer portal, but I don't think you can get like quality depth. And depth in college football is extremely valuable, especially when Deion Sanders took over Colorado. That was a roster that he told to get out of here, told the whole roster to get out of here, and the guys that stayed weren't much to build off of. So I just don't know if this is the best strategy for Colorado to, build a winning program. And if you're talking about all of these guys that are coming in that are supposed to be impact players for Colorado, and you're basically kind of looking at the Colorado team blind, which I know a lot of people, when we get around to season preview time in the summer, a lot of people are going to say this. It's like, well, Colorado won 4 games last year. They're just going to build off of that success from the year before. And if you look at kind of the trajectory of other schools, and when they hire a new head coach and they have the first year, the second year is usually where you see that big jump. The only problem is here with Colorado. Guys, do you want to guess how many coaches that were on Colorado's staff at the start of the 2023 season are going to be still on the staff for the start of the 2024 season for Colorado? How many staff members? Now, these staffs range from anywhere. There's a few dozen people on a lot of these staffs, by the way. And Colorado is only going to have 3. Only 3 guys returning that were coaches on the staff last year. And neither of them are coordinators. They have brand new coordinators. And it would be one thing if like you had, the same coordinators coming back. It's like, all right, we're going to build off of this stuff. We're going to build off the progress we made in year 1, and we're going to take off from there. Well, you're going to have to reteach a new offensive system to all of these guys with a new coach. You're going to have to reteach a whole defensive system to all these guys. So you're basically having a lot of plug and play stuff. You're having all these new players come in, but you're also having all of these new coaches come in too. And that's just a lot of variables that it's just a lot of question marks. And it's a tall hill to climb if you think that Colorado is going to be a team that could compete for the Big 12 championship next year. And here's the thing, too, about Colorado. I know they have a lot of talent. I know they have some NFL talent on this team. But their schedule next year is pretty tough. It's pretty tough. Let's go through it. I hope I still have it pulled up here. Yep, I still have it pulled up here on my phone. They start off the season at home against North Dakota State. They should win that game. But for people that don't know, North Dakota State is a FCS school that has talent to compete in the FBS. They are a very good football program. Again, Colorado should beat them, but it's not going to be a 49-3 rout. Then they go to Nebraska, at Nebraska. Nebraska should make a bowl this year. They're going to be a way better team than when Colorado faced them a year ago. Then you have Colorado State at Colorado State. Colorado State took them to the wire last year. It was probably one of the more fun games that I watched the entire season. That's not going to be a cakewalk. So out of conference is kind of shaky for Colorado to start off here. Home against Baylor. I think Baylor's going to suck. That should be a win. At UCF, UCF's supposed to, I think their over-unders at like 7.5. Kansas State, they're a team that's expected to compete for the Big 12 championship this year. Arizona, the same thing. Cincinnati, all right, they're another kind of, bottom feeder of the Big 12. Texas Tech, at Texas Tech. Texas Tech has one of the best rosters in the conference. It still remains to be seen if they can kind of put that talent together and produce a lot of wins on the football field. But regardless, they still have a lot of talent, and they're supposed to be one of the better teams in the conference next year. Utah should win the conference next year. Colorado plays them. They have Kansas, who is everyone's favorite Cinderella story in college football with Lance Leipold, who's getting interest from really big-time schools now. Kansas is a really good team. And then you probably have one of the better coaches in the conference to end the season with Oklahoma State and Mike Gundy. So if you just kind of look through that schedule, Colorado's playing like 9 teams that are supposed to have winning records next year. The Big 12 stacked that schedule against them because they wanted Deion Sanders and Colorado in these huge primetime games. And if you're just talking about, again, I know they hit the transfer portal hard, but you're basically integrating a whole new coaching staff with a bunch of new players, and you're going to have this really hard schedule. I just think, I think a lot of people are thinking that Colorado is going to maybe even run through the conference or compete for a conference title. Right now, their over-under is at 5.5. And I'm telling you guys, I'm kind of 50-50 if they're going to go over that or not. And I think there's a lot of, reasons to be skeptical of this Colorado team. With that being said here too, if any of the Deion stands that are out there haven't already thumbs down my video or haven't already left a dumb comment or something like that, I wanted to say this before I end this video here. I really like Deion. I really do. I think he is a captivating personality. I want him to succeed. I was as infatuated as anyone watching those early Colorado games last season. And I am a graduate of a Big 12 school. I want the Big 12 conference to succeed. And a huge reason that the Big 12 conference can succeed and potentially survive all of this expansion and the way that the college football playoff is growing and all of these weird different directions is if the Big 12 all of a sudden gets huge TV numbers. And the best way for the Big 12 to get TV numbers is for Deion Sanders to be successful at Colorado for, let's say, a decade. And to always draw in huge TV audiences, whether that be from out-of-conference games, in-conference games. And he's the biggest draw that the conference has. And if he's successful for several years, that is beneficial to the Big 12. Now, I don't want Deion to win 15 straight Big 12 titles at Colorado or anything like that. I definitely don't want that. I don't want him to dominate, but I want him to be successful. I want him to be successful. I don't want this to be a dumpster fire. So please don't, people that are saying hey, well, this is hating, blah, 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 blah. You don't know. You're just a hater. No, he's doing something here with building his roster at Colorado and how he's even building the coaching staff that no one else in the country is doing. And trust me, as someone that has talked to just about everybody and that cover, a lot of people that cover a lot of different programs around the country, the teams that, basically go for the transfer portal will save us, or we'll fire all of our coordinators and that'll save us, because those guys are the problem. Those schools are typically the schools that fail. And those are typically the schools that underachieve. And I hope that's not the case at Colorado, but the way that it's looking right now, they're trending in that direction. So there you have it, guys. That's going to do it for this video. I've been talking for 19 minutes straight. There's a lot of points I wanted to make there. So if you got this far in the video and you enjoyed this content here, please give me a like. Please give me a subscription if you haven't already. We've been doing this show for over 3 years now. We just now started putting a lot of these videos on YouTube. I've just been doing a lot of solo stuff, but if you're a college football fan, as we get into June, July, August, I'm going to start having people that cover, certain teams all around the country, Big 12, Big 10, SEC, ACC, teams that cover, people that cover certain teams. And we're going to be doing season previews and stuff like that. And we're going to be doing a lot of fun stuff once we get into the summer months here. So thank you very much for listening. Feel free to check out the Sports Detective YouTube channel. Maybe you'll find some other videos that you like and want to watch. But anyway, without any further ado, I'll talk to you next time.